Now, at some point, inaction may require legal intervention. This is typically a last resort, but it exists to protect the estate. If you're an heir and it feels like probate is completely stalled because the executor isn't doing anything, you're not alone. This is actually a concern that I see come up very often. Good news is there are ways forward. I'm Nate Clark. I'm a probate-focused realtor here in Austin. I help heirs and executors sell inherited property every week in Texas. Now, this situation is actually pretty commonplace because executors are not professional executors. They're usually family members, they're usually grieving, they typically have a full-time job that's not just being an executor 24/7. They're usually overwhelmed by all the responsibility and they're afraid of making mistakes. So it looks like inaction is typically really just fear, confusion, or outright avoidance, not bad intent. So in Texas, an executor has legal authority to manage estate assets, pay valid expenses and debt, protect property value, and act in the best interest of the estate. This includes taking reasonable action, not letting things sit indefinitely. Doing nothing can actually harm the estate. Now, an executor may be crossing a line if the house is just sitting vacant and deteriorating, bills and taxes aren't being addressed, there are insurance lapses, communication completely stops, or the estate is losing value due to long delays. At this point, inaction is no longer neutral, it's damaging. So before things turn confrontational, many situations improve by asking for a clear update, requesting a timeline and getting clarity on the next steps, and bringing in neutral professionals. A lot of the times, executors just need guidance and support. So how can professionals help get things moving? This is where real progress really happens. When executors meet with a probate attorney, speak with a probate experienced local realtor, and get a realistic property assessment, they often realize the situation is manageable, they're not alone, and they have a clear path forward. Clarity reduces paralysis. Now, at some point, inaction may require legal intervention. If the executor continues doing nothing despite the fact that it's harming the estate, the heirs have a couple options here. They can ask the court to require action, demand an accounting, even replace the executor. This is typically a last resort, but it exists to protect the estate. Now, delays usually hurt everybody because when probate stalls, carrying costs increase, the house typically declines in condition, family tension grows, and the outcome typically worsens. Many estates benefit from moving forward even if the decision doesn't feel perfect. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm not an attorney. I can't give you legal advice, but I work hand in hand with title companies and probate attorneys, families going through this exact process all the time. So if you're stuck with an executor that seems like they're dragging their feet in the mud and causing things to drag on, understanding the process and your options can relieve a lot of stress. If there's a house involved and you're here in Texas and want to understand the real estate side of things moving forward, such as price, condition, and what next steps could look like, I'm happy to help however it makes sense. You'll find all my contact information in the description below.